Unfortunately, it's turned out to be a nightmare on Halloween for the Indian cricket team because 2 losses out of 2 games in the T20 World Cup, and now India's chances of making it to the semi-finals are wafer thin. I say wafer thin because practically they are out of this tournament. Mathematically, they may still have a chance, but will be dependent on other team. We're going to be analysing this particular encounter that New Zealand have won by 8 wickets. Imagine they had 39 balls to spare when they reached their target that was set by India batting first. India could only manage 110 runs put into bat by New Zealand, and not any Indian batsman was able to notch up too many runs apart from the 23 that Hardik Pandya got, 26 that Ravindra Jadeja got, but it was all the way New Zealand bowlers who dominated that half of the inning. Trent bowled the pick of the bowlers, picking up 3 wickets, giving away just 20 runs, and then you had Isodi chipping in with 2 wickets, giving away 17. A wicket apiece for Tim Southee and Adam Milne, but the star, he did not pick a wicket, but out of his 4 overs, just gave away 15 runs, and that is Mitchell Santner with an economy of 3.75. That total of 111 was never going to be enough for the Kiwi batsmen, and they romped home 49 for Daryl Mitchell, and then Kane Williamson with 33 not out. Joining us on the program, former India cricketer in Pragyan Ojha, as well as Ross Taylor, former Kiwi captain, also joins us. Congratulations. I'd like to begin with you, Ross, for New Zealand doing very well. It was worth it staying up the entire night for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a very clinical performance from the team. I think right from the get-go, it was obviously a surprise with the combination that India decided to come out with. But, you know, that I'm sure a lot of Kiwi fans were a bit disappointed after we dropped Rohit Sharma first ball. But I think, you know, throughout the whole innings, we were just clinical the whole time. And I think, you know, Kane Williamson and the team will be very happy with that.
Okay, Ross says he was very surprised with the few changes that India made. Pragyan, your thoughts on those changes?
I think more than the changes, it was the batting lineup. As a cricketer, I feel you go with a set pattern. When you change that, I think that is kind of a signal where you're trying to show that you're not stressed about it, but your action is saying that you're a little stressed. Because the changes that you do, it can be, you know, we saw there was a disturbance in the sequence, and that's where I think we were little behind New Zealand.
One is, as you said, you know, changing that batting order. That was ill-advised at this moment, especially as Pragyan is saying, it also gives an indication that you're panicking a bit. Apart from that batting order, and I'll dwell on it a little later as well with you, Pragyan, but for the moment, just talk us through the body language of the Indian players, especially when they were batting. It did seem like, and we spoke about that pressure, how crucial it will be. It did seem like that the Indian batting was under pressure right from the word go.
Yes, indeed, they were under pressure, and any team in that position would be under pressure because you're playing to win, and especially when you have got some record, you know, past record where you have not done well against New Zealand, and this is your do or die game, so that pressure will always be there. So that's the reason I said, you know, again I'm trying to tell you the same thing, that Indian team shouldn't have done so many changes in the lineup. Rohit Sharma, your regular opener, he should have come in his spot that he normally plays, and then Virat Kohli, your world-class batsman, you're giving up your spots for someone else, and you're disturbing that lineup, and that is something could have been avoided.
From India's perspective, talk us through this, Ross. Any other team, if you had the likes of, let's say, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, would you ever not open with Rohit Sharma? Would you ever not have Virat Kohli batting at number 3?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say from here that you wouldn't want to open with Rohit Sharma, and I don't think Kohli should come down any lower than 3. I mean, his record speaks for itself. 2020 cricket's about giving your best batters the best amount of time to get themselves in and face as many balls as possible. And for him to come out at number 4, it is only a slight difference, but you know, he felt under pressure as soon as he came in. He didn't have the opportunity to get a strike rate in that first, you know, 5 to 6 overs, and then, you know, when he had to come out and play that aggressive role after the 10 over sort of power play spot that he came in at, you know, was disappointing. But you know, I think as I said, I think New Zealand were very clinical in that performance that they did. But you know, all eyes on India against Afghanistan, and obviously Afghanistan against New Zealand, because that's going to be some intriguing watching. And you know, India will need for New Zealand to slip up, or Afghanistan to make some good plays.
Pragyan, I'm trying to think of some logical reason why all that batting order changed. Now, do you think sometimes you can get a bit more obsessed with these matchups? Because that one matchup that everyone spoke about was, you know, when Trent Bolt is going to be coming to Rohit Sharma, so try and save him so that he doesn't have to face the left-arm fast bowler in Trent Bolt. And because you did that, then you couldn't push Rohit Sharma any further in number 3, and then Virat got pushed to number 4. This matchup is the one that is responsible for this change in batting order?
Yes, this new word matchup is something which has come in recent past. But saying that, I feel that Indian team had not done that change because of the matchup. I think they wanted Ishan Kishan to bat up the order. They wanted to give him that space. But when you're giving Ishan Kishan that space, I think with him it should have been Rohit Sharma. KL could have batted number 4 and Virat at number 3. That's what I thought. That is what my cricketing sense tells me. But it was just otherwise.
Okay, try and explain to the uninitiated who must be thinking that it's not that to begin with that Indian batsmen weren't trying to be aggressive. They did try a few shots. In fact, that was their undoing. Could you just explain to the layman why is it that the Indian batsmen couldn't time the ball and then found the fielder, whereas when you saw the Kiwi batsmen come out and bat, they were easily timing it and the ball was sailing over the boundary?
See, one reason I would see is that it is the pressure. If you talk about the skill level, both the teams are good. They're playing for the country, and it's not like they're new. They have been playing since so many years. So it's all about the pressure, how you absorb it. Because one is you're playing, as I said, you're playing against New Zealand, who's got a better result, who's always played better than you, and won all the ICC tournament games that they have played against you since 2003. And then when you talk about how to handle the pressure, I think that's where maybe Indian team lagged a bit. That is where they lost the plot.
Ross, did you, I mean, from whatever you could see on television, did you feel that the Indian team was a bit overcooked? I'm talking about when they came out to bat, you know, you could feel that there was pressure. Sometimes you saw tentativeness as well, as far as, you know, attacking the bowlers. Did you think maybe it was the record against the Kiwi team? Maybe it was because it was a must-win game, and in the end, the team was a bit overcooked?
Yeah, I mean, this is all new to me, to be fair, watching games. I'm normally playing out there. But I thought their body language was very timid in the way they went about. I think not to have got a boundary in that middle period against an Indian side who normally play with a lot of flair. Was it the situation of the game, the situation of the tournament, the pressure that was put upon? I guess they're the only ones who can answer that. But, you know, I find presence is a big thing in cricket. And a few of the players who I feel are world-class players sort of, you know, they walked out to bat with a little bit of a slump, hunched over and looking towards the ground. And I think, you know, quite often that's a sign that there's a few nerves, and I think it showed when they were out there that they were just a little bit timid. And 2020 is a game to express yourself and have fun. And you know, I felt that just a little bit, you know, placid in the way they began and weren't as busy as they probably normally are.
Okay, very interesting point that Ross Taylor makes there, Pragyan. He says that he did find that the team was a bit timid. Two things I want to ask you, Pragyan. Let's start with that T20 template that India has. Many have spoken about this, that probably that T20 template that the Indian team follows has become outdated. They kind of played like one-day cricket. We've seen them do it, you know, consolidate on the top and then the low order comes and attacks. But we've seen teams around the world, the ones that are successful, like the likes of English cricket team, they go all out attacking. Is there time now for the Indian team to, in retrospect, look back and change their approach for T20 cricket because the earlier ones become outdated?
Yes, I think the beauty about any sport is you have to evolve. That's what gets the best out of you. When you talk about 2007, I think we were way ahead of what other teams were. We had a better understanding of how to play T20 cricket. But now if you see over the years, I think things are changing. But as you said about England and other teams, it took them some time. So they made that changes over the years. So I think that is something which I'm very sure the management and the think tank who are involved with the Indian team, they will give a very deep thought to it, and then maybe they'll try and plan how to get the best out of the bunch of players that they have.
The other thing that has been spoken about because of India's performance in these two games, what did you make of that very small gap between the IPL and the T20 World Cup? I mean, burnout is a real thing, and especially in an environment where you're mostly moving around in bio bubbles.
So I'll just put another question for you.
Sure.
It's when we went to England for the World Test Championship, there are a lot of talks that we didn't have enough cricket. We didn't play enough cricket.
Right.
So when you're playing cricket, you cannot be saying that you're burnt out or anything. You had enough time. You had a break of 6 days after the Pakistan game, and you have enough time. Yes, bubble and the challenges in bubble are very different, very unique. It is very fatigue, but that's how it is in the present days that we live in. But saying that, I think that is not the major reason. I feel there was a clarity lacking, what I can say. After the Pakistan game, it looked as if Indian team didn't want to show that they were under pressure, but they were under pressure when you look at the changes that they have made with the batting order. Because when you talk about the change in the playing 11, it was quite evident because they wanted Shardul Thakur in because he's in form, and he's been doing well currently. And then the unfortunate force changed where you have Ishan Kishan in place of Surya Kumar Yadav because he had a back spasm.
Okay, was that the difference then, Ross, between the two teams? Pragyan talks about clarity, and that's one thing that we saw with the Kiwi team. They also lost their first encounter versus Pakistan. Not too many changes. All they did was get Adam Mill in, and that's all, and taken batsmen out. That's it, and rest of the things remain the same. There were question marks about Darren Mitchell opening or not. Many thought that he shouldn't be opening, but they persisted with that. Do you think that was the difference? One team was very clear what they want to do, the other wasn't, and one kept it simple?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one to say from afar. I mean, the toss obviously played a big part with the stats that we talked about before the game, with 14 winning the game out of 18 bowling first. So, that played a part, and whether that had an influence on the psyche that India went out not really knowing what a par total was, and then also having a longer break. It was New Zealand had a slightly shorter time frame in between. I mean, Pakistan had played 3 games before New Zealand or India had even played their second, so it is a bit of a disjointed schedule in that fact, where New Zealand and India play pretty much back up all their games to the end of the campaign. So I think there's little things. I think the toss did play a little part, but I think the plans that Kane Williamson came up with the coaching staff, a lot of the India batters were caught 1 or 2 meters from the boundary, where Daryl Mitchell I thought batted very well, but his just went over, and those are the small margins we talk about in cricket in 2020, and today it just went New Zealand's way.
Okay, I'm going to pick your brains, Pragyan, on 2 very interesting points that Ross Taylor makes. Okay, let's start with that gap thing. And as he said, New Zealand had a slightly smaller gap than India. Now, we spoke about that gap earlier, and we spoke about other reasons, whether it's marketing or not. That doesn't matter at the moment. I'm talking about that gap. Does that make it even worse? It's when you have a longer gap, that's when you start overthinking, and that's why these sort of silly mistakes happen, whether it's the batting order, whether it's the playing 11. Had the gap been small, you wouldn't have panicked at all and just gone in with the players that you have tried in testing.
See, whenever you're playing any tournament, you want that momentum to be going. Like you want to play regularly. You don't want such a big gap in a very important tournament like this. So that is one of the parts. There are a lot of things that have come together. That's how it looks. One is the clarity of how to go about your batting lineup, and the other one, they had at least 6 days of time in between one game and the other. And then the toss. I feel toss was crucial, but had Indian team batted to their potential in the first innings, it would have been a different case, because if you put 170, 165, 170 on the board in a do or die game, as Ross was saying, anybody can feel the pressure.
Was that the problem? You said, toss, okay, it is a crucial factor, but no one, as far as, the Indian camp is concerned, is going to accept 110, no matter whether, the toss has been a disadvantage. Because you talk about that 170, and very interestingly, we heard from Virat Kohli as well before this game, where he said that, listen, if we don't win the toss, we can't do anything. If you put into bat, we can't do anything. All we can do is put up a big enough score to defend. And probably they thought that 150 odd, because Pakistan chased that, wasn't a big enough total. Do you think that's where the problem was? You were aiming for a 170. You were aiming for a 180. Had you not been aiming that far ahead, a 150 could still have put you in with a chance in this game? Pragyan?
See, I'll tell you, when I'm talking about 170, 180, I'm talking about the entire duration. But I'm very sure anybody who walks in would never go out there thinking that they have to get 170. They follow the process.
So you're telling me when the openers went out, they didn't have a target in mind?
They have a target, but it is smaller targets.
Okay.
Nobody can bat with a target or that we're talking about. That is the end result. That I'm talking about because of the potential that this Indian team has. I'm not talking about that the openers walked in and coach or the management telling them that, boss, we are targeting 170 or 180. I think that is not how the planning is done. I'm just breaking it down. That's how they play. They have 6 over target, then they have those 4 overs, and then that's how they break it down. But I am very sure, the target that was set for them, it was not achieved. That's where the chain, that just broke.
Okay, in memory, Pragyan, I think probably the 2007 50 over World Cup was arguably one of the lowest moments for Indian cricket. I'm only talking about white ball cricket. Does this come close? I know this tournament is not over and we're going to discuss about India's chances, but just looking at these two performances, I can't think of a previous ICC tournament where India have not only lost 2 matches, but in the manner that they've lost. Probably or arguably one of the worst performances by an Indian team, would you say?
I think yes. See, when Indian team, when you're talking about this team which is dominated so much, when they see the highs, you always see the lows as well. So I think that's where you have to balance yourself. Yes, I know when you talk about performance, yes, they haven't performed the way they were supposed to, the reputation that they carry. But I don't want to dwell into the past. It's just that 2 games they haven't played to the potential. But as you said, we've got 3 more games coming up our way, and I expect them to do really well.
Okay, we'll talk about those 3 more games that India have left. Of course, New Zealand also have a very crucial encounter against Afghanistan. All that we'll talk about. But first, let's take a look at how both the innings of India and New Zealand panned out and how New Zealand ended up winning by 8 wickets.
And one of the things that they've done is make a
put into bat first. India brought in Ishan Kishan to open, not with Rohit Sharma but with KL Rahul.
He has been in terrific form.
Change in the batting hardly changed the fortunes for Team India, with Ishan Kishan out on the boundary of Trent Boult.
But that's gone straight into the hands of Daryl Mitchell. Trent Boult strikes.
Rohit would have had his 2nd golden duck in a row, but for Adam Milne, who dropped a sitter.
Milne spilt it. Guns blazing.
KL Rahul's dismissal meant India ended the power play reeling at 35 for 2.
This is KL Rahul though into the pull shot. And right at the end,
Rohit Sharma gifted away his wicket to Ish Sodhi on his 29th birthday.
This time is taken. Once again,
Sodhi's birthday only got better when he dismissed a struggling Indian skipper out at long on.
Or it holds up on this occasion.
Virat managed just 9 of 17 deliveries.
Well. Yeah, he got it. He got it. It matters because it's Virat Kohli.
It was an uphill task from there on, with Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya at the crease and India now tottering at 48 for 4.
Toss was won by Kane Williamson, 14 of the last 8.
Adam Milne also joined the party for the Kiwis when Pant went for a wild swing, only to see the ball crash onto his stumps.
Ball in, thank you, Adam Milne. The perfect retort.
Wickets kept falling and somehow India managed to cross the 100-run mark. Eventually they finished with 110 for 7, their lowest total while batting first in a T20 World Cup game.
and 50th wicket for Trent Bolt.
Bumrah.
With hardly any runs on the board to defend, India found it difficult.
Lovely shot.
Bumrah gave India a breakthrough in his second over, but New Zealand never panicked.
Underneath it.
They kept going, and the Indians were left frustrated as their chances kept diminishing with every run.
Oh, that's good. Sandler does that.
The nightmare finally ended for India with this loss. Their second in a row, and with this defeat, their chances of making it to the semi-final now only rest on some miracle.
On the offside.
Sports Bureau, India Today.
There's plenty in that. Oh, there is.
Right, we kept calling this encounter a virtual quarter-final. It might not be that way. There could be many permutation combinations going forward. But Ross, what must New Zealand be thinking at the moment? Would they be thinking, right, we've, done the hard yards, beaten India and now through to the semi-final? Or would they be wary of a very tricky Afghanistan team?
No, I think obviously got two other games against Scotland and Namibia before that massive Afghanistan game at the end of their tournament. You got to respect your opposition. Cricket is all about momentum, and I think net run rate's going to play a part. If New Zealand do lose to Afghanistan, it could come down to net run rate who goes through to the semi-final. So playing these next two games, it's about being professional and clinical, but winning by a decent margin, or the game being close, it could be the difference of teams making it through. So you don't want to look too far ahead in this tournament. Momentum does play a part, but that Afghanistan game, I'm sure if you're honest, the New Zealand team will be looking what's in front of them over the next two games, but there will be an eye out to what will be a fantastic game. And I'm sure a lot of Indian fans will be watching that, not only the game against Afghanistan in the next couple of days, but that New Zealand-Afghanistan game, which is going to be a must-watch.
Okay, completely out of time, but Pragyan, I want your quick comment, 10 seconds. Do you still think that it could come down to net run rate, as Ross was saying? What if Afghanistan were to beat New Zealand and India beat Afghanistan, 3 teams tied? Or am I just being a very optimistic Indian fan and hoping against hope?
See, to have all this, it has to come into place. First thing is you have to do, it is very simple. You have to win those games.
Right.
So after winning those games, you think about the net run rate. First is the first step that you take, and then you think about the second step.
All right, completely out of time. Ross Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a long night for you. You've stayed up the entire night to be discussing cricket with us, but then it's happy ending for you because New Zealand have won this very crucial encounter. Pragyan Ojha, thanks so much for being my co-pilot throughout this day as we were building up and then analyzing this crucial encounter. As I've been saying, it's Halloween day, and true to the Halloween tradition, it turned out to be trick or treat. Of course, the Indian team is the one that got tricked into losing, and it was all treat for New Zealand. That's all that we have time for. News continues on India Today.